I guess in 1983 you left Portland and you wound up with Fritz von Erich.
Yeah, I kind of, Portland reminded me of England a lot in weather-wise. And it's like every day I'd wake up and it was raining and, it was really heavy on me. That was my first real lesson about what was going on. And I almost thought to myself, hey, I'm going to go back to England. So I'd had that in mind. And then suddenly out of nowhere, I believe Don Owen and Fritz von Erich were very good friends. I'm not saying that the best of friends, but, different territories back then, the promoters had a rap between them, and it was good, and they used to send their talent from one territory to another. So he talked to Fritz von Erich, and before I knew it, I was driving to Dallas from Portland.
Now, what did you hear about the von Erichs before you even went there?
I heard from the Samoans, actually, that the territory had just was beginning to get set on fire. So I just remember that they said that it's really, really doing good, doing great every Friday, great every Monday. And then the spot shows in between were, starting to really pick up.
Now, before you went, you also worked with Rick Martel, I think, a little bit?
Yeah, I worked with Rick Martel. He's a gentleman. Him and I, we don't keep in touch, but whenever we see each other, we always spend a long time together and talk. Yeah, he's a great guy. I have a lot of respect for him.
Now, when you got to World Class Championship Wrestling, what were your initial impressions of the Von Erichs?
I was sitting back. I was kind of in awe. It was like, wow, this thing is going on. I saw the huge houses. The Von Erichs were brothers, but they instantly took a liking to me, and I thought it was great. I thought Kerry had a beautiful wife. I remember that. And then I had, of course, my head was shaved at the time. So I was like, I hope they like me. So after a few matches, I realized that they did. And I heard that they said, oh, yeah, we're going to go with him. And I never looked back since. The Von Erichs and I made really, really good friends together. And it really went from there.
What are your memories of some of the matches you had with the Von Erichs? Because they were classics.
Yeah, really funny. I remember they were always trying to, like, for example, the hair match. Gino and I made this thing that we wanted to go out and wrestle whoever. And then at the end, after we won, we would snip a piece of their hair and put it in a book and then talk about it on the interview. And in the end, we had a picture of everybody in the territory with a piece of their hair, and that would build up. And we even did that to Kevin. And, it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of heat. But some of the matches were wild. I remember Kevin's got this thing about, if you give him a pile driver on the concrete, and then you look around, he's in the ring before you are. So he used to have to beat the hell out of Kevin to keep him down. So as soon as you hit him once, you'd have to hit him 10 times and blow him up. I remember we always used to say, okay, we'll keep on swapping, make sure that he does his job.
Right.
But they were wild, and the people loved the Von Erichs, and the people hated us. So it was perfect.
What are your memories of when you guys smashed the windows of the cars with the chains?
I remember that was just a good feeling. That was fun. I wasn't meant to get up on the car and smash it with my foot, but I remember I did anyway. I thought, to hell with this. I'm not going to give Gino all the hate glory, so I'll do this too. But it turned out to be great. It was a shocker at the time. I know now, Vince does it every week, but back then it was like shocking.
Right. Were you ever worried about wrestling, getting in the ring with them due to like the reputation with drugs? And
no, I wasn't worried. Sometimes I was concerned, and I didn't like that much because, you can easily get hurt. If someone that hasn't got the full coordination, then, they don't know what they're doing, or they don't realize, or their timing's off, and you can get hurt. But knowing that, then it was like, stay out the way and just be careful.
Right. What was the locker room like at the time?
At the time, the locker room was buzzing. I remember Ken Mantell was the booker. The Freebirds were there, so that was funny. Von Erichs were there, and Iceman King Parsons, and just Jimmy Garvin, Sunshine. There was a lot of characters in the dressing room, so it was a lot of fun.
Right. What was there any resentment of the push of the Von Erichs from the other guys?
In a way, because if you came in as a good guy, a babyface, of course they owned the promotion, so of course they were going to get first push. I mean, how would you possibly get over one of the Von Erichs? So there was resentment amongst some, but to be completely blunt about it, I was grateful. I was grateful for the push that they gave me and the notoriety. So not from me, but from some guys.
Right. Now, your first feud, I think, was with Jimmy Garvin, correct?
Yeah, Jimmy Garvin.
What are your memories of that feud with Jimmy?
I thought it was great. He was a character. Him and the Freebirds were always together. They drank Jack Daniels all the time. Freebirds, I remember, had so much Jack Daniels over the period of several months that the whole of what the fireplace wall was covered with stacked up with Jack Daniels bottles. And once Buddy Roberts they didn't have any firewood, so Buddy Roberts, who was Buddy Jack at the time because he drank too much Jack Daniels, he changed. He's like Jekyll and Hyde, ran up and jumped up and smashed the coffee table, landing on top of it. He says, "Now we got firewood." So. And it was a rental place, But that was the craziness that went on. And Jimmy, my feud with him was fantastic. Him and Sunshine were actual cousins. They actually hated each other, and they'd always be arguing. So I guess that turned out to be a good thing to me.
Right.
Because what happened after then is that Jimmy's wife, Patty, joined, which was Precious. And him, Sunshine, and Precious came out together. And eventually, of course, it would lead to the two girls falling out and Sunshine coming to me. And I think that was one of the first kind of mixed tag angles in the country. So that was a lot of fun.
What are your memories of that feud?
I thought it was great. I mean, the way it started was the two girls would come out with Jimmy Garvin, and then one girl would try and screw me over in the ring somehow. And the other, Sunshine, would mess it up and cause me to win, and then Jimmy would get mad. And then when the two girls started fighting, we always used to try and keep the girls apart, just give the people a tease, because I have a good saying about it. I don't know if I can say it on here, but I will. It's kind of like sex, once you are finished, you're finished. So if you keep on, teasing, it's good. It keeps on going. And that's what we had, the formula. And back then, I believe an angle was an angle, and it would last for anything from 6 months to 2 years, done in the correct way. And I just remember when the two girls first touched, people went crazy. And then, I grabbed hold of Sunshine, I believe, and Jimmy grabbed hold of Precious, and we kept them apart. And then from then on, it was kind of like Money in the Bank.
Right. That was good stuff. I remember that stuff too. So, who was Stella French? Where'd she come into play?
Stella French came when Sunshine decided to go off somewhere. I don't know what she was mad about, but she was mad about something, and didn't show up. So, rather than just blow the whole angle, Stella Mae French came in, and I'm not sure what they said, whether she was the aunt of...
It was the aunt.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
So she was the aunt of Sunshine. She was a truck driver, I think.
Right. Do you have any other good memories of the Freebirds? Any good stories outside the ring?
Yeah. I heard that once, Buddy, they were all down not Corpus Christi, but Padre Island, and they were sunbathing, and Buddy fell asleep because he was hungover, and he fell asleep with his mouth open, and Michael and Terry found this rotten fish with maggots and stuff. So they laid it over his face, and the maggots. I heard that because when I got to the dressing room that night, Buddy was so mad. And then another time, they put a dead possum in Buddy's bag.
I think Jack
Victor said that.
Did he?
Yeah.
So he does. He just carries like a little bag with the same clothes like all week.
Yeah. And he had a dead possum. He was stinking, and he wore the clothes. Just to to piss off. Yeah.
What are your memories of Jake Roberts?
Oh, Jake was, I like Jake a lot. Him and I have remained good friends. We don't keep in touch with each other, but whenever we see each other, we talk. I like Jake. He was in world class. They never did really push him that much until he went to WWF, and then he got his major push. And I thought it was ideal. I think Vince in that way is pretty genius.
Right. Is there a lot of, I guess there's tons of ring rats down there at the time.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember one story where Kerry and I went out. We'd always used to go out for meals afterwards. And the whole place would kind of like get a big, huge table for everybody. And that would be it, and everybody would be coming up with autographs. It was pretty crazy back then. The kind of ratings that World Class was getting back then was like 13s and 14s, and everybody
That's
was
awesome.
watching. Yeah, really awesome. So I remember Kerry and I, once we went to a club, and we had to leave because it was getting really bad, and people were, girls and people were coming up to us. So we left. And when we were driving through the parking lot, I remember all these girls dripping off the car, trying to hang on. I don't think it's ever been like that again. I know it's much more of a national scale right now, but it wasn't quite so intense.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.